So welcome back to my channel. This is Dom and a reveal of my Cleve-Berg army for napoleonics. It's been a labour of love and it is almost completely finished now. And you know what? I'm quite pleased because it seemed like a great idea at the time, but it's an awful lot of white uniforms and it's a lot of troops. So as you will know, if you followed my channel for any length of time, I couldn't possibly do a French formation for napoleonics, but I wanted to have a force that I could potentially play solo against myself with my allied armies, or as I've started to do on Zoom against somebody, one of my mates. But I wanted to have something that could fight against the Allies, and so I started on the Cleve-Bergs, primarily because I fell in love, I'd always fallen in love, to be honest, with the Cleve-Berg Lancers. I think they're such an awesome unit, and so I decided to do the Cleve-Bergs. Now, Cleve-Berg's a bit of a history lesson. Cleve-Berg was a Germanic state in what is now Germany. In those days, and for quite a long time, Germany was a number of city-states or principalities or duchies. Wasn't one unified country like it is today. And Napoleon formed a number of these states, pretty much all of them, into the Confederacy of the Rhine to provide manpower and resources for his armies. And Cleve-Berg was one of the bigger states. They had quite a sizable army, and this army, which I'm choosing to represent here, saw action extensively through Napoleon's campaigns up until pretty much it was destroyed in 1812 as part of the Grand Armée that went into Russia. So this is supposed to be my representation of the Cleve-Berg element of the 26th Infantry Division, which was part of the 9th Corps in the Grand Armée. It was very much a reserve formation. It didn't initially go into Russia until the autumn, but boy did it have a lot of engagements in that time once it did deploy. So some debate about exactly the composition. I've chosen to go with the one that I've seen most repeated, which is that of the 4 regiments that the Cleve-Berg army had, each had 2 battalions. 7 of them went to Russia, and 1 of them, I believe, stayed in Spain. So that's what I've chosen to do. I've also seen it said that all 8 went, but I've chosen to take 7. So I have, this is the 1st regiment, 1st battalion, 2nd battalion, the 2nd regiment, 1st and 2nd battalion, and then the 3rd regiment. This is the 2nd battalion only. I haven't represented the 1st battalion. Again, one of the things that I've read, I'm not entirely sure how accurate it is, but I'm choosing to believe it, is that the 3rd regiment was slow to adopt the small pom-poms on their shakos, and it maintained the much longer plume, and I thought that was kind of fun, so I've left my 3rd regiment with the long plumes. And there is the 4th regiment, 1st and 2nd battalions represented here, and you can see 2 of the battalions, 2 of the 7, I've done as single based figures, and the rest are done multi-based. That's because I like playing black powder and sharp practice, and in sharp practice I need single figures. So by doing it as the chances of me ever fielding all 7 battalions are fairly slim, so I thought having 5 that I could play in black powder and 2 that I can play in sharp practice is probably going to be quite enough. So that's the infantry element. Out here on the flank you've got the Cleve-Berg foot battery, This was medium guns, 8-pounders largely. I think they had also a couple of howitzers within their battery. They were brigaded up with a Baden foot battery, which I will probably represent at some point. As I said, the 26th Division was a combined Cleve-Berg and Baden one, so half of it was Cleve-Berg, which is this element, and the rest was Baden. It was a very, very big division, and you know, at some point when I've got the energy, I may well embark upon doing the Baden element. Anyway, the battery, you can see one limber at the back. I have got another one which I will get around to painting at some point, just to provide that sort of it's a nicety. You don't need to have a limber in most games, but I kind of like the idea of having one. Down the front we have clouds of Voltigeurs, or probably, being that these are Germans, these are probably Jaegers. Again, because I play a lot of sharp practice and I like sharp practice, skirmishers are really useful for that. And also when Muskets and Tomahawks comes out with the Napoleonic edition, probably going to need a lot more single based figures, so I thought, well, that's ideal. So there's quite a cloud of those. You got the officers at the back here. Again, quite a lot of those, because you need a lot of individual officers in most of the sharp practice games that I particularly like playing. At the back here you've got the cavalry element, so there is my blessed lancers that got me into this trouble at the beginning, and you've seen the video hopefully of me making these up. These are Victrix lancers, beautiful, beautiful figures. Really enjoyed making them, and I'm really pleased with how they've come out. So they were brigaded with some guard like cavalry from Hesse. So that's those fellas there. These are Perry miniatures, I believe, if I remember rightly, Perry metals. They're not actually Hesse troops, the figures. Anyway, they're Bavarians, I believe, if I remember rightly. And in front of that is the Cleve-Berg horse battery. The uniforms are almost identical. In fact, there's virtually no difference between Cleve-Berg foot and horse batteries. They were same caliber, same uniform, just I think they had slightly different badges and buttons. That was it. So at some point I may well do the limbers for those as well. So that's that lot. And out here is the company of sappers that, again, if you follow the channel, you would have seen these. These are Warlord's sappers. They're absolutely lovely figures. Really, really pleased with those fellas. Out there on the flank we've got a spare gun, which is really set up so I can use it for sharp practice, singly based, which is kind of cool. And providing some support out here on the wing, we've got half of the Chasseurs à Cheval French cavalry brigade that was part of the 9th Corps that the Cleve-Bergs were part of. Had the 23rd and the 23rd and 24th Chasseurs à Cheval. This unit is the 23rd. At some point when I've got the will, I'll do the 24th, just so I've got it as part of this formation. So there you go. That is the Cleve-Berg composition. This guy down here is my commander. Sorry, wobbling around, but this guy here is my commander for this formation, and he is a really interesting character. He is actually, in the figure himself, is a Perry Bavarian commander, but I'm choosing to represent him as Hermann Wilhelm Deindels, mainly because when I saw the figure, he looks very, very like the image, the painting we have of Deindels. Deindels is a fascinating character. He was actually Dutch, and given the fact that this division was almost entirely German, you had the Badens and the Cleve-Bergs, who were both Germanics, and controlled by a Dutch commander, and just shows the international composition of the French formations that went into Russia. In fact, generally French formations that fought through the early and mid part of the Napoleonic War were very international in flavour. And Dynedale's had a very interesting history. He was a patriot, and bearing in mind Holland in those days was, well, for years previously had been sort of occupied by a number of different countries, and he was a patriot, and he thought Napoleon was a good way of getting independence, or some degree of independence, for Holland. And he was obviously well thought of because he was given control of this division, which was a fairly sizable one, as we can see. And he survived the war, survived the defeat of Napoleon, and he went on to be governor in the Dutch Gold Coast. And sadly, he died of some nasty disease while he was out there. Having survived the cold of Russia, he died in the heat and the nasty illnesses of the Gold Coast. It's sod's law, such is life. So the Cleve-Berg formation was, as I said, was part of the 9th Corps that went into Russia as part of the French Grand Armée. It was a reserve corps. It didn't really go into Russia until the autumn time, by which time the French were largely stationary and starting to head back for home, and didn't mean it didn't see some extremely fierce fighting. This formation, and particularly the Cleve and Baden troops, were heavily engaged in the Battle of Berezina, which was a particularly brutal battle in 1812, as Napoleon tried to retreat from Russia in the snow and ice as the winter set in. The Russians pushed him very, very hard, trying to trap and kill as many of the Grand Army as humanly possible. And at the crossing of Berezina, 2 or 3, I forget exactly, Russian armies converged on the retreating French and tried to completely destroy them as they tried to cross the river. The 9th Corps was thrown into action, and particularly 26th Division virtually sacrificed itself to allow the French, or the rest of the French army, to escape. And as a result, pretty much this entire formation was destroyed. At the end of it, the Cleve-Berg army was down to a couple of battalions and literally a few dozen cavalrymen, and that was it. They had no guns and virtually no stores, and that was the end of the Cleve-Berg formation. They briefly reformed, but after Napoleon's first abdication, they changed side and became part of the Allied effort, and never really maintained that degree of influence. So really 1812 was kind of the high point of their existence, if you like. And there's another good reason for picking this period to set this army in. So there you go. That is my Cleve-Berg project. Pretty much done. A limber to be done, and then of course the Baden at some point to be done. In fact, I suppose I need to do 3 more limbers, because the horse artillery need a limber as well. Oh well, we'll do them at some point. So a mixed bag of troops. You've got a lot of Perry troops, you've got a lot of Victrix, a few Warlords as well, even some offensive miniatures in this army. Mostly plastic, a few metals, but really pleased with how it came out. So there is my Cleve-Berg showcase. I hope you've enjoyed the journey that this has been. I certainly have. It's been great fun. Really enjoyed it. As I say, got a little bit wearing towards the end, but really nice to get all these battalions finished, all this cavalry finished. settle back on the divisional commander. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Really appreciate all the positive feedback, all the positive comments, and I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed my look at this project and my journey through building this this army. If you did, say give it a like and let me know what you think. What are you working on? What should I do next? What should I do next? I've got plenty of projects, so I don't know why I'm asking, because I've got so much to be done. But whatever, it's been fun to do this one. Anyway, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out with a final fly past and a final focus in on my glorious Lancers. Stay safe, stay well, and I'll see you again soon. This is Dom, signing out.